I like the truth. Even if it hurts, I really appreciate the truth. Like, we all don't want that truth that hurts. But it's better to be lied to and find out later that the truth is actually this, and you were living your life fake.
Hey, welcome back everybody to another episode of Not Your Average Gun Girls. You guys probably had a very busy weekend, celebrating 4th of July.
4th of July. Oh, speaking of 4th of July, did you have any glizzy dogs?
I'm going to have to go back and text Sydney and ask her what that means because, that's a hot dog, right?
Yes.
Okay. I did not partake in the hot dog.
Same.
No, but I hope you guys had a wonderful 4th of July. Today is a very exciting day for those of you who have been following us for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years or so. Today is our 100th episode.
Woo-woo.
And
oh
it wouldn't be possible if we didn't have such an amazing audience and just an amazing community of men and women like each and every one of you who listen in, who share the episodes, who have subscribed on whatever platform it is you want to listen to, but you've also rated, you've reviewed, you've told your friends about the podcast, and those of you who went the extra mile. We've even had several of you buy
really
us.
turning it up this episode.
Well, they really turned it up because they didn't just miss. This lady did not just buy us one glass of Veuve each. She basically bought us an entire bottle. So, Robin,
thank you so much.
Thank you. It was
for
perfect
supporting
timing.
us.
Yes, it was perfect timing too. What a great way to celebrate our 100th episode.
I can't believe it. 100 episodes.
I can't believe it either. So, Robin, thank you. And if you want to continue to support us, we will take all the coffee and Veuve you want to bring our way. So, thank you.
Cheers to you, Robin.
Cheers to you.
And to 100 episodes.
And today, to celebrate that, we have an amazing guest.
Oh my God. So good.
Some of you may know him, some of you may not, but you're going to get to know the incredible Eddie Penney today. Eddie has been a friend of ours for a while. I mean, we've known him. You've trained with him. Eddie is a former Navy SEAL. He is the CEO of Contingent Group. He is a new author and podcast host of the Unafraid podcast.
2 podcasts.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yes,
podcasts.
He's got a podcast with his wife as well. And you guys are going to just hear all about Eddie's life, about the incredible things that he is doing currently. And I think you're going to
It's a great episode. Yeah.
Enjoy
I can't wait
this
for this
episode.
interview.
So let's dive right in. All right, everybody, welcome back. We have an amazing guest. We are so excited. Eddie Penney, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me. What's going on?
Thank you for joining us today.
Seriously. It's been a process trying to get here.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of months.
You know, we've been trying to, we have so many great friends and potential guests that live right here in the DFW area because we would much rather have people in studio
it's
than
so much better.
Zooming it in.
Right.
I mean, you've got 2 podcasts that you're doing.
Yep.
Do you guys bring guests in studio with you?
Sometimes, yeah. Usually that's what we try to do because you get the YouTube feel so people can watch. Like, I'm a watcher guy. Like, I got to see. I really have a hard time just listening.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like the YouTube aspect, we just started hitting that hard when we relaunched now with bringing back the YouTube aspect. And I'm just like, I kind of like watching it versus listening to it, even though like while I'm listening to it, I can do other things, but I find I get more distracted.
Right.
So like I'm enjoying that more podcasts are going like video format.
Especially you have to show something. It's
right.
like, what are they trying to doing?
Well, totally. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. We love having dudes on the show. So, we're a very heavy female audience with our show, but we're getting a lot of guys that are watching it and want to bring their wives in to watch it too. So we're so great we're excited to have some testosterone here today that we can talk about. I want to know.
In our pinkish studio.
Yes, in our very pink studio.
It's like pink. I was watching some of the videos this morning. There's a lot of pink.
It's a lot of pink going on.
It works. I love the brand. I love it.
So when we did your introduction, we were telling people about, you do so many things. I think a lot of people would be really interested to hear about kind of your journey being a SEAL. So can you give us a little bit of background on that?
So the 30,000 bird's eye view of what that looks like is 4 years in the Marine Corps, switched over to the Navy, did 16 years there. I was with, made my way up to the Tier 1 Navy SEAL team. And then I retired about 3 years before I got out, I got custody of my children, so I couldn't deploy anymore. So I got my bachelor's degree in security management, started a company called Contingent Group, which is risk mitigation. We kind of just take care of whatever is needed. It's not like a cookie cutter job. Like, hey, this is what everyone needs. It's what, okay, let's look at what you got, do an assessment, and then take care of it. So we started that, and then recently just authored a book called Unafraid, which comes out this July 26th, so next month, which we're super excited about. And then got 2 podcasts, the Penny's podcast with my wife, which is super fun to do. And I get like super emotional when I like do that with her. Like I'm like she's like talking, I'm like, okay, I'm so weak. Like you got me. And then
I love that.
Then we have the I don't in the moment.
Yeah, I'm sure you don't. I'm sure.
And then I have the Unafraid podcast, which I do with my co-author, which is Keith Wood, and we do more man stuff, like fighting stuff, hunting stuff, shooting stuff, cop stuff, just whatever. Like we want to talk about. Like, hey, let's talk about this.
That's the fun thing about podcasts is literally
it's so
it's
cool.
your, you can just turn on your microphone and talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Ones.
Yes.
Those are the best ones. Like impromptu, like let's just talk about this.
Yeah. No, I mean.
I think some of our not better conversations, but we end up getting into more with our guests, like once we stop hitting record and we're just kind of like all chilling and just like chatting. We're
Dang
like,
it, we should have had that going. Always.
That's how it works. Always.
Yeah. So I've always been wondering, what inspired you to be a SEAL?
Ever since I was a kid, I just my dad always watched the action-packed movies with Schwarzenegger and Stallone. I was like, okay, I want to do that. It's like, I want to go lift weights because I was a little skinny boy. I want to go do that. I want to go to the military. Didn't know exactly what I wanted to do in the military, but then I saw a movie called Navy SEAls.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's what I want to do.
Really?
Little did I know that that's really just not how it works.
Yeah.
Like going around and doing all the awesome operations. It looks so cool. Like they're underwater and you're like, okay, the water's cold. They're up in the sky. Okay, up here's cold. This is miserable. Like there's just all the things that look cool.
Yeah.
Just turned out to be pretty miserable, but it was a great job. Super glad I did it for, this country. It was amazing. It was a great time. I wouldn't say it was forced out, but when I got custody of my children, it kind of like changed the way. And I looked, it was like the lowest part of my life and the highest part of my life. I was like, okay, I'm leaving this, about to start off. And I thought my life was over. But then I got those kids and I was like, okay, this is what life's about. These guys right here, not that stuff. I was very self-absorbed, extremely.
Well,
and,
I think we see that a lot with, I mean, you could speak to this better, but I've talked to a lot of people that once they get out of something that's so intense, like very like special forces or whatever, and that was their purpose and that was their mission. It's like they really have to find what their new purpose is.
Right,
and
which leads to the addiction, the anger, depression, and like, what's my purpose in life? And it's like, we get stuck in this rut. And I've gone through so much like talk therapy, shots in the neck to try to help with PTSD issues, all kinds of things, just like EMDR, brain spotting, like all these little things that are out there that we're starting to learn about from the neuroscience piece. That's pretty amazing. It's just like being proactive, like go do that. Because they were proactive to go be a SEAL or be a spec op operator. But it seems when it comes time to like, hey, let's get better, there's like I don't know what it is. There's like a stop. They don't want to push forward. I don't know if they're just like hung like my life's over. There's no like brightness on the other side.
Interesting.
So like work with that with the SEAL Future Foundation is like been trying to help them because they helped me a lot. And then so we just try to bring in the guys.
I feel like too with technology over time is also with some of those therapies that you've been doing for your PTSD has changed over time and have improved. So I'm sure
100%.
From when you first got out versus now, like a lot of those things they're able to kind of dial in really what the needs are of some of the people who are coming out of, being overseas.
Yeah, it's mind blowing. You see your buddies, you're like, because when you're in it, like for me personally, I was like, I didn't realize all this was happening. And then you kind of pull yourself away and you kind of like, for me, it was Christ. Like 100% Christ was my number one. That was the thing that kind of grounded me, kind of gave me that anchor. But like my buddies, I'm like, you guys, you're so blind, but you don't want to push anything on them. It's just like, hey, this helped me. What do you maybe we should try? I mean, I think like SEAL marriages alone, the divorce rate's 90%. Like we're not doing something right. Yeah. Like something is extremely wrong. And so,
Was Christ something that you found after or before?
After. I was about 32, 33 when I
really?
Yeah, I was not, no. Oh, no, I was...
Was there someone that was really instrumental in your life in telling you about it or bringing you to church or?
What my ex-wife actually started bringing me to, she's like, you need to go. And I'm like, I don't want to go. Like, I was like scared to go. And that story is actually in the book. I was very terrified of Jesus Christ for certain reasons. And I never went. And then I finally kind of like a make or break for me just drinking a lot and doing dumb things. Like, hey, you need to go to this. Have you ever heard of a program called Wild at Heart by John Eldridge?
No.
Yes, love that book.
So I've done that like 5 or 6 times.
Wait, they have actual programs
so you
for
go for
now?
like 2 or 3 days. It's amazing. It is the coolest thing that I've ever done in my life. I went, like I said, 5 or 6 times.
Wow.
But I went to that. I found Christ, and when I tried to explain to my fiance at the time, like I was just in tears. I cried for like 3 hours.
Is this a religious-based program?
It's a Christian-based, but it's like finding the heart of a man. It's not like let's stuff a bunch of Jesus down you or something like that. It's like, hey, we're built. The basis is kind of like men are made to be the heroes, women are the princess, and there's like a love story that we're all in.
Okay.
And he said something that was so cool because this is mind-blowing. If you think of any movie from Finding Nemo to Gladiator, there's 3 things in common. There's a hero, there's a villain, and there's a love story. Every single movie. Right now, you're like going through your.
You can find the formula. Yeah.
It's crazy, and it's like all biblical for the most part.
You know what's crazy? So when because that book was big when I was in high school at our church, and they recommended all of the women to read that book,
right?
So that they could understand like how men are wired and how it was really eye-opening for me as a high school student. And I remember Drew read it, and I would love for my son to read it. I would love for them to, is it something like a father-son could go and...
Absolutely. I recommend it to everyone. They also have a female version called Captivated. So those 2, like, which is great for men to read that as well.
Yep.
So like, but that's kind of like changed it. Like, okay, there's more here. And of course they give you like, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. I was like overwhelmed. I was like, okay, wait a second, that's too much. Like, hey guys, like, I'm just still getting over the fact you have no alcohol. So it's just like, I learned that if it's laid on your heart, that's what you should probably be led to do. And it's not all this, like you're not supposed to do this, and this all at one time. I mean, that's overwhelming for anyone. But it was awesome. And I remember they gave like, here's some books that you can read. And like one was like The Prayer Life and one was like The Bondage Breaker. Like, don't read The Bondage Breaker because it talks about like spiritual warfare. And I'm like, warfare? Okay, cool. That's fine. I don't know if this like basic stuff. So I just started reading a lot. Yeah. And I just fell in love with it. I was like, man, this is awesome. And then I started to look back in my life, my career. I'm like, wait a second, this makes sense now. Okay, wait a second. This isn't right. Okay, this is right. And it changed me.
Wow.
It changed me.
That's awesome.
It was really cool.
Those are definitely books.
And it's still a fight. It's still a battle. Don't like, there's not this, I've arrived.
Sure.
It is. It's still a battle.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to fight.
Is that all in your book?
Yes.
I can't wait to read your book. That's exciting.
What the book's called? Unafraid?
Unafraid.
Okay.
Yep.
And it comes out when? You said
July 26th.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay.
Awesome.
I mean, this started back in 2014.
Wow.
Really? It's taken this long.
Well, I woke up one night, and all I heard was write a book. And I was like, okay, that's dumb. And so I tried to go back to sleep. And I got up, went to my desk, got a piece of paper and pen, and did like the outline, like all the chapters. And then I probably wrote about 150 pages for the next year. And then it got tucked away until I met Keith Wood, the co-author, who's brilliant, at a shooting course through the NRA. The one that we kind of did, that one. And I asked him, I was like, hey, listen to this podcast. Tell me if you think there's a book there. And he listened. It was Mike Ritland podcast.
Okay, yeah.
Got a lot of comments on it, like, hey, you should write a book. Which I was kind of totally against. I was more of like a vomit session to like just
a therapy.
Yeah. There you go, therapy. And he's like, there's definitely a book here. Let's do it. And that was it. So we did it. It took about 2.5 years to get it complete.
Wow.
Are you finding that your audience is starting to gravitate towards you for very different reasons than what you thought initially?
100%.
So what do you think they're coming to like your Instagram page for? What information are people really craving and seeking out right now?
Being real and transparency is what I believe. Like, they love the SEAL thing. I mean, I did when I was a kid growing up. They love the SEAL thing. They want to see that stuff because it's that childhood dream as a man is like to be that hero. Everyone wants that. But a lot of us fail to take that risk to get it. And that's what we see in society. And but I'm very transparent. I I'm sure if you guys have seen my posts, like I really don't hold back to anything. Some of which probably blow the belt, but I really
that's what I love though. Yeah.
But yeah, the people like, thanks for talking about that. Like, we're talking about like, man, I had a bad day. Like my kids were rough doing that. Or like, I seriously have a problem with this, or I need to work on this. And that's it. And that's what people want. It seems like, because they don't want the fake Hollywood stuff. And I'm sure you guys see the same exact thing. Like, we don't. That time, I think, is passing.
Totally.
And that's a beautiful thing.
Well, you really jumped. I mean, I noticed a big shift when you started really speaking out about other issues beyond, 2A, just firearm related issues or gun protection. Like you really expanded beyond that. Do you remember coming to one particular point in your life where you're like, you know what, I think I have more to share than just this piece?
I think it was just over time, I can't really just put it down to one, but I was like, I like the truth. Even if it hurts, I really appreciate the truth. Like, we all don't want that truth that hurts. But it's better to be lied to and find out later that the truth was actually this, and you were living your life fake. And
I think over the past, couple years, we saw that a lot of people are really seeking that. They wanted to see the truth. Yeah. They wanted to hear it. And, they were sick of the media and the news just kind of waving, this like fog over what was really happening.
Because it sucks. We can't believe anything. Like, I don't believe anything. Someone could be like, this tablecloth is white. I'd be like, all right, let's double check this.
Yeah.
Bring me a Pantone sheet, please. I'm going to hold this color up to it. Yeah.
But they did it to themselves and they're shooting themselves in the foot. And it's like, we can just start to see it unfold. And it's beautiful, but at the same time, it's super sad because this country is the greatest, like, period. If anyone travels overseas to any other, not like a nice resort, but to see the reality of it, they're going to be like, okay, all right, I love my country.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, seeing kind of where we are now, would you still encourage people to go the military route, to do what you...
The question of the year, right there. I put it like this. You have got to follow that heart. With the administration right now, everything in me says no, no, no. But at the same time, it's not about them. It's about us. It's about the people. It's about our families. It's about the people that populate this country. That's what it's really about. It's not about who's in the administration. That's going to change, and hopefully sooner than later. But I would say follow your heart, and there's certain vaccines and certain things that are now in place, which you're like, I totally disagree with. But at the end of the day, if it really goes back with that heart is, and that's really not even an answer. But I mean, I live my life by my heart. Sometimes not my head, down the wrong path. But I'm like, follow that heart. Like, it's no one's a lot of people don't understand what you're doing. And this is in the book too, because I was swayed not to go to the SEAL program after I failed at certain things.
I think it's sad that, I think there's still that something inside boys. And I try to think through this with my own son, and how do you shape, him to be a courageous man, especially in today's society? And I think, if there are people that want to go that route, but they have no idea, they don't have support from their families, they didn't have anyone that was really prior military or anything like that. Do you think that there are specific traits or qualities that you have to make it as a SEAL?
I think the biggest trait is a no quit attitude. Like, you just got to do it. You got to want it. Like, if you don't want it, you're like, oh, I'll give this a shot. You're probably going to fail. But if you're like, this is what I'm meant to do. This is all I can think about. This is what I'm eating. This is what I'm thinking about. Then you got to do it. And the influences we have are not that good for that type of work. It is the more coddling, like, softer side. I almost said the softer side of Sears.
Well, I think too, like you were saying, you got started because you grew up and you saw movies and you saw like how the SEALs were, what they were doing. You're like, that's what I want to be. And I don't think today, like we've talked about this with Samuel, just what programs, what movies are being made now that actually are giving that type of inspiration.
I was about to say, I almost took him to top. He's Top 2. So my son is 2, but I was like, I think I'm gonna take him. He's obsessed with airplanes right now, and I was like, the best thing I could do is show him this movie now and get him excited about it.
But that's like the only one that I can think of.
Right, but like
there's not a lot of them.
No, especially in the last couple of years, especially how the climate's going politically with everyone having to be inclusive and all of these things. There aren't things like where are young boys supposed to seek the inspiration to say, this is kind of what I want to be. This is the kind of man I want to be. They have to learn that from home.
Yeah.
And that's the problem is their influence is coming from that thing we always hold in front of our face, that
Yes.
phone. And there's a lot of bad things, but at the same time, there's a lot of good.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you got to monitor and be like, all right, what are you watching? What are you doing? Because there's some great stuff on there. Like I watch fighting stuff all the time, like learn new moves, inspirational quotes. Like that just gets me going through the day. But there's also like somebody twerking.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't need to see that.
Right.
Like, I just don't need to see that.
Yeah. Well, even in commercials.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
they even, and like a commercial popped up on something that he was watching on YouTube, and I was like, can't fast forward it. I'm like, I was not expecting that. So now I have to sit here and watch this and watch the commercials.
No,
with
because
him.
like all the ads on these apps now, they're forcing you to actually watch like the 3 to 4 seconds before you can even like.
Yep.
You're
It's
like,
insane.
Yeah.
They're pushing it, and this stuff has been going on forever. The propaganda piece and
Yeah, well, I don't
all
worry
that.
about it for my daughter because I'm like, look, there's such a big move for, be a strong woman. You can do whatever you want. Like the messaging is there that I'm happy about in a certain way for my daughter, but I'm like, where's my son going to go to hear this? Because I don't want him only seeing like these messages are just for his sister, and so maybe you should start like a kid program too. Can you teach the 2-3-year-olds to fight, please?
We just started. So we do on Unafraid on EddiePenney.com. We sell like shirts and like these bands and other things like accountability stuff. So I'm a firm believer. If we just have certain things on us, like tattoos, obviously. I got Unafraid on my. Some people like,
I see it now. Yeah,
probably weird. I don't mind. But it's just like reminds me. Okay, I'm not passive. Like I'm going to go all in on everything I do. And it reminds me. I remember my daughter was coming down the stairs a couple weeks ago when she was wearing an Unafraid shirt, and just I stopped. I was like, "Hey, sweetie, what's going on? Good morning." And she was walking out with her shirt she loves to wear to sleep. And I was like, "That's right, Unafraid. Today we'll be unafraid." Like it just reminded me, like, hey, Eddie, because I still need it. Like, like I said, there's no I've arrived. Like, I still need it. And I put it everywhere to try. Like, my feed is I try to put like good quotes, motivation stuff, people that can help me and not hinder me. But there is that. I downloaded TikTok for the first time. Like, oh my Satan.
exactly.
Like a month ago, I was like, okay, I want to push the book. We need to start doing some videos. And then when you push it, like when you just pull it up, like just like certain trends come up.
It's
and I'm
crazy.
like, oh my gosh. Yep. So like I have to delete the app now. I'll plug it back in when I got to post something and I delete it again. Cause it's like,
you get like sucked in this and not in a good way. Cause like I will like when I first got TikTok, I was like scrolling through and I'm like, what is this? And you just like, it's like watching a train wreck. You're just like, what? And you keep like scrolling. I'm like, I just don't even bother.
Because some of those videos took a lot of time to make.
Yeah.
Like, what are you could have learned like Mandarin Chinese right there. If like, why?
Right. You mentioned us being on our phones. And so I want to talk a little bit about that because with Contingent Group, you do a lot of security.
Yes.
So do you do any programs through Contingent Group for women? Anything regarding like safety or situational awareness? Because I'd love for you to talk about it a little bit. Like what can you give the women who listen to us some things that you have learned or that you have seen through Contingent Group through your career that women need to start paying more attention to or things that they can do to kind of keep them more safe and more aware?
I'd say the biggest thing, we do thing with women and organizations, but it's not like, hey, would you come do this? It's not like, hey, we're going to put on a course.
Okay.
But I'd say the biggest thing, like the biggest trends right now is walking from a store or whatever to your car. That's like the biggest thing right now. So I would hone in, and it's so basic, is that situational awareness. A lot of people are, like you just said, that's why you brought this up, is we're in our phone. Oh, I have to respond to my message. Like, no, you don't. Like, then we got to put in the kid in the car where your face is buried in a car, like anything can, and there's videos that we can see all over media where this stuff is happening. I mean, it's being filmed and shared. Right. And we're still wondering why there's so many victims. Because we have this, like, it won't happen to me mentality. And I know you guys are totally against that, which I totally applaud. And you guys put out great stuff for that. But, like, yeah, they just don't think it will happen to me. And I always tell anyone I give a course to is like, hey, real quick. No one woke up that morning and said, you know what, today I'm going to be a victim.
Absolutely.
Right. They never said that. They never said, I can't wait to put on my new suit or put on this nice dress and I'm going to go out and get thrown in the back of a car with a freaking sandbag over my head. It just doesn't happen. And it's just, and a lot of the stuff, can we prevent all of it? Absolutely not. I will say that from a professional security standpoint, you cannot prevent everything from happening, but you can deter a lot by certain things you do, by certain layers of security you put into place. And
like what?
It's that big thing. Like one thing would be get out of your phone, like pay attention, have your keys ready, get in. As soon as you get in, lock the door. When you get into your, pull into your garage, and you got groceries in the back, turn off your car, keep your doors locked, shut the garage. Once you're good to go, then get out of your car and get your stuff. Like just little baby things.
Yeah.
Are you locking the door when you let the dogs out?
What do moms do when they have to get their kids in the car seat? That is when I feel the most vulnerable.
Oh, it's a very bad one.
I hate it because I'm like,
You're
you're sometimes wrestling an alligator, trying like my kid's screaming. I can't think of anything else. I'm not being able to look around because I got to wrestle him and get him in the car. And I'm like,
squirming.
Yeah, it's like, what? This isn't a fast process. Like, what do you do?
Well, it starts like when you first get there. Okay, first, is it nighttime or daytime? If we can do something in the daytime versus nighttime,
yeah.
All right, so there it is. Okay, where am I parking? Am I parking in the back of the parking lot next to other people? Am I secluded by big vehicles that they can't see what's in between them? So all these little things go into it.
Would you advise parking in the front or the back of the parking lot?
It depends on the parking lot, but I would want to be closer to where the public is. Because if I scream, I've got a bunch of eyeballs on me, and 80%, I believe the stats, the last time I checked, were 80% of any bad guy, terrorist, whatever it is going to choose a target that they can get away with. 80%. Like at 80%, I'll be able to do this percentage or whatever. So if you're close, that's why like everyone's like those sirens, those personal alarms. Oh, they're so bad. But if you do that, like everyone's looking and the people leave.
Right.
But does it seem like the bad guys are getting more brazen these days? They're getting braver in when they're attacking, what they're doing in broad daylight, almost like there's going to be no repercussions for their actions.
There really isn't any more repercussions.
Look at where the justice in certain jurisdictions, I wouldn't say all, but if we want to look at like California, New York, other blue states, I mean, to be quite honest with you, I mean, probably here in Dallas is a blue city.
All right.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like, is this America anymore? It's unbelievable, but that's why. There's people, I think I just saw this morning, somebody had tons of fentanyl and they got off. Like, got caught, like something ridiculous. I'm like, dude, like we need stricter punishments. If they were stricter, people would stop. They're like, oh, just get out. I mean, we saw the same thing in Iraq and Afghanistan. They know if they get captured by American forces, we can hold them for, it's like 14 days and they're back on the street. Second time is 30 days. They know the game. They know the game. I mean, heck, we got people getting out because of COVID, out of jail.
Right. Yeah, that was the most ridiculous thing.
I mean, why not?
Well, because I believe also in Washington, and don't quote me on this, this is what I heard Ben was talking to me about, was that in Washington, like they're not pulling, like the cops aren't actually pulling people over anymore.
Actually, a good buddy just moved down from, he was a cop up there. I was like, why are you coming down? I knew the answer. And he's like, he goes, I think you know the answer. And I go, I know the answer. But I just want you to tell me to make sure I got the right answer. And he told me, he's like, it's ridiculous. He's like, you cannot stop. People can be doing drugs, selling drugs. You cannot arrest them.
Right.
The only time they can go into a store and steal all the meat and walk out. You can't stop them.
And they're doing that. They're like basically.
They don't need, why work? And we want to know why people aren't working because you can just go and get stuff for free.
Right.
Now, this is only in certain places. But it's like I think the only time that you can arrest somebody is if it is a crime against, like, if it's harmful to you. Like I'm pretty much stabbing you or something.
Well, by then it's too late.
But it's still, and then who are you going to call?
To the life of politicians.
Right, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Golly, that's just crazy.
We know the answer. Yeah. And it's like, okay, what do we do? It's like, that's where, be that voice, not that echo. It's like the things that you guys do is putting great things out and making sure that people are like, all right, here's what you should be doing. I mean, it's not the end all be all, but it's better than filling it up with like, hey, be a criminal.
Well, I mean, it's just getting people in the mindset of even thinking, I don't want to be a victim, because I don't even, like you said, people aren't even thinking about it. I mean, our goal is just to help people not end up on Dateline. So,
that's what thinking about personal safety now.
You said the word mindset. That's really where it starts. That's the foundation of it all. It's just that very piece. I was doing a Unafraid Mindset speech this past weekend for some realtors or real estate investors. And I in the middle of my speech, I go back to security. And I go, all right, this is you. And I give them the layers of security, the rings. Like we have alarms, we have dogs, we have lights, we have doors, we have windows, you have guns, you have all this stuff. But in the middle is your mindset of like making sure that you're checking all this stuff. And then I go back to the mindset, like we do the same with our brain. putting in all these different things that are going to make us better. Like, what are you watching? Who are you hanging out with? How's your diet? Are you sleeping right? Like, all these things add to us and make us who we are.
Yeah, it's literally not just about the self-defense tool.
It's not one thing.
No, it is. It's literally training in every. It's this big toolbox, and it's strengthening your mind. It's strengthening your body. It is improving your skills, and that's not just one skill.
No,
that is not just have a gun, you're good to go.
And right now the audience is like, that's so much to take.
It is so much, but I think that's why
it's a slow process.
But that's why we always talk about it being a lifestyle, and you have to be ready to kind of start adopting that lifestyle. And it doesn't mean you need to know all those 10 things immediately on day one, but you just need to start somewhere, and it starts with your mindset. And once you start getting that going, it's a snowball effect, and you'll start, I feel like, embracing it more. At least that's what we have seen, and that's really the best way to start.
No, I agree with you 100%.
It's
100%. It's just like taking that first step. Okay, what is it? Like, thought about jujitsu? Cool, go do it.
Yep.
You do 6 months of jujitsu, you are better than like 90% of the population, possibly 95. You have that. Doesn't mean you're going to win competitions, but if you need to get away,
but I think too, awesome. And it's just like fitness. I realize when I'm not working out, or for whatever reason I just stop working out, just my strength goes down in general, and it's just like the basic thing of just maintaining your overall personal fitness can make a difference.
Oh yeah, because I tell people that all the time. I'm like, look. The first thing you would want to do, if you could, would be to run away from the situation. If you aren't running daily or, working on your fitness and your speed and your strength, you think you're going to be able to run more than 10 steps without getting winded, and that person's going to catch up to you. So, I mean, like, so many people focus a lot on the mental or a lot on the physical, but then they are just missing that one extra piece of, well, then it's all incorporated together in an attempt to stay as safe as possible.
Absolutely. And the people don't realize too, is like, they're like, oh, that's so much. You got to eat right. You got to do this. You got to work out. You got to think about this. You got to learn to shoot. All are fun things that we've learned. But it's like, once you learn a certain amount, you get to spread that word to other people and teach them. And that's the beauty of it all. It's like watching, like, you just see it click. They're like, oh, I'm like, yes. Yeah. Like, that is so awesome. It's the greatest feeling in the world. It's like, you get it now. This is perfect. Now tell your friends.
Yeah, go tell everybody else. Are you seeing a shift with more women coming to you guys? Or are you seeing a shift in mindset at all within people, I guess, in our society in general?
I would say our biggest thing, especially when the whole peaceful protests were happening, right? Was people were wanting to, how do I prep my house? What do I need to do? And that took a big change for us. So we started doing that. And then now it's organizations, like small mom and pop shops. Like, how do I keep, if somebody comes in and they do this, what do we do? So we kind of give them those scenarios, and here's what you should have, like basic stuff. Where's your fire extinguishers? Do you have any? Where's your medical? Do you know how to use it? That's great. Everyone's got a medical kit. Very few know what to do with it. I put a Band-Aid on. Cool. Doesn't matter. Like, you got to put on a tourniquet effectively.
Ben and I took a Stop the Bleed class, I want to say a couple weeks ago. And I've always carried a tourniquet. We carry med kits, and we've watched the YouTube videos on how to use a tourniquet. But it wasn't until we took the Stop the Bleed class that I was like, oh, it requires that much pressure.
That many twists.
That much. Right.
Really? I need to take that.
We took it at Texas Gun Experience.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't just a basic Stop the Bleed class. My understanding is like there are ones that you can sign up for through stopthebleed.com or whatever the website is that kind of just give you like the basics. But this guy went above and beyond, and he had like the dummy arm with like the blood coming out of it, and like we had to go up and like turn that tourniquet, and I was like, it takes a lot. Yeah, my heart was being like, oh my god, I'm like, this guy.
Okay,
this fake thing's dying.
You would probably have. I mean, you have real life experience with this, so if you are implementing some of these things properly, can you legitimately save somebody's life?
100%. 100%.
So a lot of times it's just there's people that aren't even prepared to help out in this situation.
Well, first we get that flight or flight thing that always happens to us because people don't train. Right. They don't train to a certain part. Like if I wanted to give somebody an active shooting scenario, I would want to shoot paint back at them so they can feel what their body does, because everyone's body is going to react differently. A lot of them be like, this is awesome, this is so cool. Other people be like, okay, get me out of here. This party sucks. Yeah,
I think that's where the scenario-based trainings come in, because you actually really get to feel it and like be a part of it.
And we kind of did that. We did those at the NRF. It's so
It
true.
changes.
They don't have that. And a lot of people are not going to do that. But when blood's going, people pass out. They don't even know what the reaction is. But those kind of trained, the more realistic you can get without doing the real thing, obviously, is the best thing.
You touched on home security and things that people can do. So what would you say would be your top 3 things that people need to do to keep their home secure?
The top 3 things is always keep my doors locked, keep every light on, back one. Like I'm big into the motion sensors. It scares people away. And then get a dog. It doesn't have to be a big dog, although I like big dogs. One of them will rip you apart. That's my buddy. But those would be my top 3 things. Like my alarm. Like a lot of people will get the alarm, like, oh, I always got to have an alarm.
Yeah.
Right? That's great. By the time the alarm company calls something, whatever's going to be done was already done. Like, it's great to know, like, hey, somebody come in this door or somebody's in our house right now, and then we can have a neighbor see what's going on, or we can call. But if you're wondering, like, when help's going to come, whatever is going to be done is already done. It's the biggest, in my opinion, scam that's out there.
So you think a dog will deter more than a home security
100%,
system?
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Absolutely, for sure.
Because they've almost gotten conditioned to know how quickly, if it's just an alarm, how much time they have to go in and get things done and get out.
Most people put out their little alarm sign, so now I know what system you have, and
Right.
now I know how to bypass it.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do that, put out a different one, a different brand. But there's still a way to figure things out.
Yeah,
Like, people
they're
crafty.
It's
And that's why it's always evolving.
They're getting
Like,
very
it's a scary
sophisticated here.
world. Yeah. And we're talking about a sign.
Yeah.
No, there's so much. Just like, that's what I'm saying. There's little things. If we just add this, all right, we're going to change that light bulb. That might stop something. We don't know this. Unfortunately, there's no way to measure that.
Sure.
But like a dog is huge. A lot of people will bypass a house to go take something like Amazon packages. That's like the new crime of opportunity right there. Is like, I just see packages, I'm going to go take them. That is like the number one right now. But a dog could stop them. I don't know. Could alert the people inside. Now they're like going to the next house.
Yeah, like the element of surprise.
Everything for them, criminals, is about making it as easy as possible for them.
80% goes back to that freaking, absolutely. Wouldn't you?
Right.
I mean, sometimes we
go to houses, one's barking and one's not.
Like, we go to the kitchen right now. What's the easiest thing to make right now? That's all. That's why.
Very true.
I need to get cereal out of my house.
It's just so easy.
It is easy. That's who we are.
Yeah.
We just want the path of least resistance. That's how we're just created.
Yeah, 100%. It's crazy because that is the simplest thing, and it's like this thing that everyone, criminals, executives, the smartest people in the world, it's like, sure, everyone works hard, people want to do things, but when it comes down to it, it's like, what's the easiest thing?
Exactly. And not all criminals are like that. I mean, there's some that are professionals.
Sure, who are really.
Well, we've said that about like just securing our schools even more. Like we'd set very simple protocols and measures to secure our homes. Why can't we even do those very simple things in our schools? Yeah,
that school thing's that gets me fired up. It's just like we've got this problem with a thing called money. But we'll go spending it on all kinds of dumb things across this country and in other countries that we can see. If you take a certain percentage of that and put it to schools, it's not. It's the same thing. You got to put in certain protocols, and it won't feel like a penitentiary. And it's just like things that need to be done. Like it's and proper police training.
But I don't even think. I mean, I know people say, "Well, I don't want my kid to be afraid when they go to school." But I'm like, how many of our kids walk into a sports stadium or a game and they walk through metal detectors? There's cops there. They're not afraid of it. They go to the airport. Everything. That's just the way that it is. I don't think that even adding that, I know that's an expensive measure to put in, but I'm like, I don't think that would scare them. So I don't think these other measures of just keeping them safe would terrify them.
No, because they wouldn't know any different. I mean, like when metal detectors started coming into play in sporting arenas and even at like TSA at the airports, we were adults and we questioned, we're like, oh wow, this is kind of wild. But now it's just the way it is.
Right. So you walk in with your knife, you're like, crap, I gotta go back to the car, I gotta take it out.
My mace. I have done that with.
It is real. It doesn't even come down to that stuff. It's like teaching the teachers what to be looking for, having them trained to carry. So instead of having which I hate saying this, instead of having 14 victims, we only have maybe 2 victims.
Right.
And I hate saying that. But like, again, it's what things can we do to make it better, to mitigate more risk. And that's the name of the game. Because you can't stop it. You will not stop it. A determined person going into any venue and shooting it up unless it is like on lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's got, and I don't care what state, I don't care where it is, I don't care what the gun laws are. If somebody is determined and wants to do it, they don't care about their felony. They don't care.
Of course they do.
don't
Yeah,
care.
they don't care.
They're just going to do what they want.
Mhm.
That's it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we could literally talk all day about the
That's like
school stuff. Us too.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, us too. So, Eddie, tell everybody where they can find you, where the best places are for them to find out about Unafraid, the podcast, whatever it is.
The
You
books,
tell them where they can
everything.
find you. Yeah.
Got you. So the websites are eddiepenny.com. That's where Unafraid kind of goes. We're trying to fight for the unafraid.com right now. And then contingentgroup.com. That's a security piece. For the media, we've got Eddie.Penney for Instagram, Eddie Penney Unafraid for my Facebook public page. And then Twitter, I got Twitter, which is Penny Eddie, which I'm really not on there because of the Twitter thing.
Yeah.
TikTok is, I think, Eddie Penny Unafraid.
Are we going to see any Eddie Penney dance TikToks?
Oh,
God.
Is that what we could tune in for your TikTok
As soon
for?
as I can delete that freaking app, I'll be doing it.
Notifications, please.
And then the book comes out July 26th. It's called Unafraid. It'll be on Amazon. We're about to go record the audio version,
Awesome.
which I'm going to read off.
Oh, wow.
And I tear up so many times in this book. 'Cause I lay it out. And I'm like, okay, guys, we're not editing this. Like, I want people to feel the emotion.
Of
Like,
course.
it's real. I want it to be real. I mean, it is all over this book.
Yeah.
It's an inspiring story, I think. And so is a lot of the readers that have read it. And then got the Penny's podcast, my wife and I, and then we got the Unafraid podcast.
Awesome.
But everything is pretty much, if you go to eddiepenny.com, you can pretty much find everything.
And if they want any of your Unafraid gear,
eddiepenny.com in the store.
Okay.
We're going to link all of this
All that'll be in the show notes.
So if you didn't write that down, we got all
And
that
you guys
coming
got
for
your
you.
Unafraid shirts too, so we're golden.
I know.
Yes, we'll wear them. I want some of those bracelets. I'm going to.
I'll send some to you.
Yeah,
guys.
those are awesome. Those are very cool. Well, Eddie, thank you so
Yeah,
much
thank
for
you so
joining
much
us
for
having me.
today.
I appreciate it.
Love
Seriously, it's a
having
good
you
time.
on the show.
Yep, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
See ya.
Not Your Average Gun Girl Show and its related companies, Alexo Athletica LLC and Stami Tactical LLC, shares information that may potentially have legal implications for its listeners. A reminder that laws vary for each state, and we encourage listeners to seek local legal advice to understand applicable laws. Any items, services, products, and advice mentioned during the Not Your Average Gun Girl Show should be used at your own discretion in accordance with your local and state laws, and you should follow applicable manufacturer's instructions. Not Your Average Gun Girls, Alexo Athletica LLC, and Stami Tactical LLC cannot be held liable for your actions based on the information shared.